So, like I said, good evening, everybody. Welcome once again to our continuing education call. Good to see we've got quite a few people joining us now. Brilliant to see. As always, certainly if you're new to the call or a regular attendee, do let us know where you're calling in from. Do put it on in the chat. It's always great to see where you're all joining us from. So let me tell you some more about the lady who's going to be sharing all of this wonderful information with you this evening. This lady has a doctorate degree in microbiology, master's in medical virology, and blends the curative power of Reiki, the wisdom of essential oils, and the transformative practice of emotional aromatherapy to guide individuals towards balance and digestive harmony. Her mission is to help women and men become the healer in their own homes. So I'm delighted to pass you on to the extremely knowledgeable Dr. Tanya Euster.
Thank you, Andy. It's always such a pleasure for me to come and teach about digestive health. It is my passion. And I really like sharing with people who are already in doTERRA, but also newbies, because wow, who thought that essential oils can be so supportive for digestive health? So I'm quite excited to share some very new content with you tonight. There is some of my old recipes from previous sessions, but it's again a whole new slide deck. So I hope you enjoy what I have to share with you tonight. I'm going to be sharing my screen. There we go. All right, I just want to see who I can see to show me with the thumbs up whether you can see my screen, but I'm sure it should be okay. Ah, there we go. Thank you, Andy. All right, so we're good to go. So welcome. I am Dr. Tanya Euster, as Andy so nicely said, and I really enjoy teaching about gut health because the effects of our essential oils are actually quite rapid. And tonight I want to teach you about a specific application method, which is also the reason why I came across doTERRA in the first place, and I'll get to that in a minute. But because we are able to use the oils in a way that we can with doTERRA, you can actually have a very rapid response. So that makes it really quite effective and very potent. I always start my digestive health classes by saying that not everyone has a gut problem, but everyone needs to focus on their gut health, because this is where everything stems from. And if you have poor digestive health, your immune system is going to be terrible. Your microbes are going to be suffering, which means your mood is also going to shift. You're probably not going to have the best time every single day. It's also going to affect your sleep. So if your brain and your microbes are not happy, then you're also going to get bad sleep. And if you have bad sleep, you're going to affect your microbes. So everything is interlinked, and it almost always starts with poor digestive health. There's a very good reason why when we look at doTERRA's health pyramid, that nutrition is right at the bottom. That is the foundation of good health. All right. The only thing that is not included in that green bar is hydration. And that's something that I hammer on quite a lot. Hydration is one of the most important things, together with good nutrition and then all of the other lifestyle habits that go with that. So most of you that know me by now know that the reason I found doTERRA in my initial research was because I was looking for oils to use internally to support my digestive health. If you remember way back when, my father got very ill with a progressive prostate cancer. It was spreading and metastasizing through his body very fast. And I looked at his lifestyle and I looked at my high-strung lifestyle, and I realized, oh my goodness, being a pill popper for most of my life, I really needed to start paying attention to my gut health because it was affecting everything else in my life as well. So through researching a little bit and finding Dr. Zelinsky, I realized I needed cardamom, for example, caraway, ginger, peppermint, coriander, and fennel. And of course, all of those are to be found in our digestive blend, all right? And the thing is that I wanted to use the oils internally. And you now all know I'm a scientist. I'm a research scientist by profession. So I really dug into the proper research and found how adulterated oils are in the market, and that most brands actually are not even essential oils, never mind the fact that they cannot be used internally. All right, so that is how I found doTERRA. Is I did the research, and here I found a company that was that transparent with their purity and potency that you and I, a layman, can go online to source2u.com and go and get lab results confirming by a third-party testing laboratory, so an outsourced lab, not even doTERRA's lab, that these oils are pure enough to be used internally. All right, so very excited to share with you tonight because Zengest was my gateway oil, shall we call it that? Not my gateway drug, my gateway oil, which then introduced me to doTERRA's entire range. And of course, my entire lifestyle has changed. I've changed my food and my diet about probably 6 or 8 years before, or yeah, maybe 6 years before I came across doTERRA. And since I started using doTERRA around 6 years ago, I no longer use any medication. So I didn't have very serious conditions, but I do have some genetic predispositions to autoimmune conditions. My diet was very seriously needed. I seriously needed to look at that. And the oils have literally helped me with all my inflammatory conditions, my pain, my severe allergic reactions to random things throughout the day, my mood, my sleep. All of these things have severely been positively impacted through using or switching to essential oil. So I actually want to read from a book tonight. I'm not sure whether you're going to see me on camera, especially not on the replay, but I want to just quickly show you. So we all have our tools, our advanced oil magics. We have the Essential Life. We have the Modern Essentials Plus. But something that I also really love is Scott Johnson's books. So Dr. Scott Johnson is actually on the medical board for doTERRA as well. And he's written this book called Surviving When Modern Medicine Fails. And I want to read a little piece in here specifically about the internal use of oils. So before I talk about why internal consumption is reasonable, beneficial, and safe, I do want to say that there is always contraindications with anything natural or pharmaceutical, right? So if you have a very serious liver condition, then using oils internally is probably not going to be your best route. Yes, we can use oils to support our liver when it's struggling, but when you have a serious liver condition, do remember that all compounds do need to be processed by the liver. So if it's already overburdened, you may give it extra work to do, and then using them aromatically and topically is probably going to be the better route for you, right? But if you have a relatively good functioning liver, let me just read from Dr. Scott Johnson's books here. Based on available data, it seems reasonable that essential oils are safe when administered orally in sensible doses, not a whole bottle, and I will share dosages with you as we go along, as opposed to the extreme dosages that cause toxicity, and you're able to use them for a reasonable period as well. Those who advise against the practice want to treat essential oils more like drugs, where only licensed professionals can dispense or administer them orally. These individuals also ignore the fact that essential oils contain dozens to hundreds of naturally occurring compounds, some of which act as buffers to balance or counteract the toxicity of other compounds. This is likely why, despite being extremely potent remedies, adverse reactions to essential oils are significantly lower and less severe than those of drugs. Here I am, proof of that. If reasonable dosages are followed and safety precautions observed, oral administration can be of great benefit. And I really love that piece in that book because that is why I went on the hunt for oils to use internally as medicine. And tonight is going to be specifically about using oils internally that is going to support digestive health. And there's actually, with the 3 administration routes that you are all very familiar with now. So we have aromatic, which is generally used to support the limbic system, the neuroendocrine response, mood, and emotions. We have the topical route, which is for localized benefit. So this is where you're putting the oils somewhere on your body where you need localized support. And you're going to dilute that with a carrier oil because that also supports penetration. It's going to help that the evaporation doesn't happen that quickly. So then there's longer time for the oils to penetrate. So those are 2 very well-known methods, all right? Aromatic probably being one of the safest ways, especially around very young children and babies. So the question is then, why would someone want to use oils internally? Well, internally, we can target a broad response throughout the body and especially the digestive system. On a very basic level, I usually say that we use oils internally for anything that you want to support between the throat and the genital area. and when we need something systemically. So when you're using a pharmaceutical medication, the reason why you use them in a capsule is because you need them systemically. And the same goes for using oils internally. Now, there's various ways of using oils internally, believe it or not. And I want to share them with you tonight because there's a difference in what the oils do depending on which route you choose. And because of the effect that you desire at the end, that may help you choose in future when you're using an oil internally to choose one of these methods, all right? So when we refer to internal, we are talking about making your own veggie capsule, or when you've got a soft gel or a gel capsule, right? So that's internal. When we speak about oral, this typically refers to when you're adding your citrus oils drops into your food or in your water, or when you're taking it sublingually, which is under the tongue, or when, for example, you put the peppermint on your thumb and you press, or frankincense for that matter, and you press it against the palate inside your mouth, right? So that would be oral. Yes, oral. Whereas internal is referring to the capsules, okay? So chemistry of these oils and all the chemical constituents that are in there is very easily recognized and metabolized by the body. They promote cellular health. They trigger chemical cascades. I always talk about the chemical communication that is improved when we're using oils internally to support cellular health. They're also biologically active. They are, believe it or not, very selective. They don't just go in everywhere. Yes, we say that the oils go into our body and they can reach all the cells in so many minutes, but the targets are very selective. And efficacy, in other words, how well they work, is dependent on the whole oil. The single parts or constituents are proving to not be as effective. That's why when they produce a linalool synthetically in the lab, it doesn't have the same effect compared to a lavender essential oil that doesn't only have linalool. It has many other chemical constituents because they all work synergistically together to support the body. So the encapsulation method with a veggie or a gel cap ensure that the essential oil is released in a more controlled or almost a time-delayed manner, as it has to go through your entire digestive system, right, before it reaches the blood, okay? Sublingual, under the tongue, allows for very fast, direct absorption into the bloodstream. It completely bypasses the digestive system at the start, so the action is very swift. And when you're doing drops in water, for example, so citrus oils, depending on how long you have that water in your mouth before you'll swallow, you'll have a little bit of both, but it's probably going to be a little bit more going through the digestive system than it is like putting it underneath the tongue, right? So when you're putting it on your palate, obviously that's also instant, okay? So let's look at the journey and the impact the oils have, depending on which route you choose. So when we're going to do a capsule, the oil is very safely enclosed in the capsule and this shell until it reaches the stomach, all right? So there's no absorption taking place here unless your capsule leaks, which sometimes happens. So upon reaching the stomach, the capsule then begins to dissolve in the stomach's acidic environment, and this then releases the essential oil, all right? This method is very beneficial for oils that support the digestive system, your immune system, even your respiratory system. And it allows for a gradual release and an absorption of the oil's components, maximizing their therapeutic potential while minimizing any potential discomfort from that particular oil. So here I'm referring to the hot oils. So think cassia, cinnamon bark, clove, oregano, thyme, even lemongrass sometimes that repeats on you. Better to take that in a capsule, right? So initially the oils will interact with the stomach lining. And this is good, especially for citrus oils, because it's good for the stomach lining. And then it begins to journey through the digestive tract. The oil components are then gradually absorbed as it moves along in the intestines, where the majority of the nutrient absorption occurs. So when we use an enteric coated capsule, I know we don't have it in South Africa, but I know many of the European countries and America definitely has the enteric coated peppermint capsule from doTERRA. That is made so that it actually passes the stomach. Acidic stomach doesn't even open that capsule because you want the peppermint to end up in the intestines, pretty much the same as our probiotics do, right? So obviously, when we're talking about enteric, it's only going to start absorbing in the intestines. It won't start absorbing in the stomach area. Then after that, liver metabolism takes place. And this is where the liver metabolizes our oil components and it transforms them into secondary metabolites, or it sends it for excretion. So this is why using therapeutic or tested grade oils is so very important, right? Because we need the secondary metabolites. But if you're using an impure or an adulterated oil, those secondary metabolites or the components themselves may actually be very toxic to your body, right? So when we start with oils for the very first time and we're very new to using oils internally, we always only use 1 or 2 drops maximum for an adult as needed without exceeding the beneficial amounts, right? When we will talk about using oils internally for kids as well, especially when necessary. The general rule is no one under the age of 12, but I'll also show you a table where, especially in Scott Johnson's books as well, when children have very serious issues that need support, you can support them with oils internally, just at much lower doses compared to an adult, right? Circulatory system. So basically after the liver, the oils or the compounds of the oils, they're no longer the full oils. These will then enter the bloodstream where they can then have a systemic effect. So you see, it takes a very long time before it gets into the blood. I'm saying very long, that's relative, but it's very long in comparison to underneath the tongue, right? So for instance, peppermint oil may have a cooling effect and aid digestion, while lemon oil could detoxify and elevate the mood. And we're going to share the differences between how you use these oils under the tongue or through this route so that you can get the desired effect. And then there's cellular interaction that takes place. So after it's got into the bloodstream, the oil components will then start interacting with the cells in your body, potentially supporting biological functions and also improving cellular health and energy. And then, of course, it gets to the excretion stage. So this is when the body then excretes unused oil components through the kidneys and the urine, and then the liver. So this goes through the bile, which then eventually leaves the body via the feces. So it goes through the liver twice, eh? Sublingually, this is now under the tongue, all right? Or when you push it to your palate, this is direct bloodstream absorption. So we're completely bypassing the digestive tract and the processing of the liver into secondary metabolites, all right? So it gets directly into your bloodstream. And this allows for very rapid effect on your mood, for example, and therapeutic effects of supporting the nervous system. And it's also very useful for oils with calming or stimulating effects, as well as supporting the immune system really, really quickly. All right, so I'm going to take 3 of our oils in our top 10 kits. So our home essentials or our family essentials kits. I'm going to show you the difference between using them by ingesting them as is versus using them in a capsule. All right, so capsule versus under the tongue, just so you can see the difference for these 3 oils, because that same methodology you can then apply to all of our other oils that we can use internally as well. And then I will get to some recipes. All right, so in front of you now is one of my absolute favorite oils that I support a lot of my clients with, and that is, of course, peppermint. I obviously help a lot of people with digestive issues, symptoms related to IBS, leaky gut syndrome, all those kind of things. So a lot of discomfort in the belly area. And this is usually where peppermint shines. The only time you can't use peppermint with the one method versus the other is when you're suffering from GERD, all right, so reflux disease, okay? So here, choosing the right method becomes very, very important, okay? In the gut, peppermint oil may have several mechanisms of action, including smooth muscle relaxation. And then there's also visceral sensitivity or discomfort modulation, antimicrobial effects, and anti-inflammatory activity. What that means in English is it's going to relax the smooth muscles, which means it's going to relax them if there's any spasming or cramping taking place, okay? And the visceral sensitivity or the discomfort, that's the pain that we're talking about. That is definitely going to decrease, and it's going to have a support on an anti-inflammatory level as well, right? So by talking about what it does in the gut, that means you are using it in a capsule, right? The metabolites produced by the liver So after the tummy, it goes to the liver. It can have a soothing effect on the digestive tract, the secondary metabolites that the liver makes, right? And it can also help alleviate symptoms of indigestion and discomfort related to a very irritated gut, which is probably why I use this oil so much for most of my clients. Let's look versus sublingually. So that's underneath the tongue, all right? Because the compounds are not altered by the liver initially, taking peppermint oil under the tongue can offer a more systemic effect, such as enhanced mental clarity, relief from head tension, a cooling sensation throughout the body. All right. And in front of you, you see some of the receptors and the systems that are involved. GABA, for example, that's going to relate to your mood. And these are not important. Okay, that's probably more for medical professionals because they like to see these things. But some of the channels that are infected are the TRPM channels, which has got to do with temperature, which is why we have that cooling sensation. All right. But what happens here is that the oil, when used under the tongue, is going to wake you up. It's going to open up airways. It's going to help the brain. And it's going to be, everything up here and cooling, right? Because head tension is usually heat in the head. So using it under the tongue is quite a good way, or putting it on the palate. Whereas if you're trying to support digestive discomfort, it's probably better to use it in a capsule, especially if you're dealing with reflux, because of the smooth muscles that get relaxed by some of the components, the menthol component in the peppermint. If you take peppermint and it's not in a capsule, it can actually relax this oesophageal. I always struggle to say that word. Oesophagus is in Afrikaans. What is the English word? Anyway, the sphincter here, after you've swallowed, that also relaxes, and then some of the stomach acid can push up. Okay, so for that reason, when you have good Zengest, our digestive blend, which has less peppermint in it, is probably a little bit more suitable, but rather put it in a capsule. Okay. Let's look at our lovely oil, lemon. Lemon offers cleansing properties, and it also supports the body's detox pathways, very gentle way. It helps your liver to produce antioxidant called glutathione. So if it's got to get to the liver first, before everything else, start already thinking in your head what would be the better way there to use it. And then it's also very high in antioxidants. It's very supportive to the integrity of the mucus layer lining in the gut. Okay, so of course, if we take it by a capsule, we can have all of those effects. We're going to have the liver detoxification, right? And the secondary metabolites, the glutathione production. So that's via the capsule, beneficial there. Digestive system support. The journey through the digestive system also means that the lemon oil can directly interact with the gut lining and the microbiota. And this interaction can aid in supporting digestive health, alleviating symptoms of indigestion, and promoting a healthy gut environment. The microbes, really good for the microbes. Okay, now this is in a capsule or drinking it in water, like 1 or 2 drops in water. If you're new to it, 2 to 3 drops in a glass of water 2 times a day. I like to start my morning with water, electrolytes, and I'm not such a fan of the lemon essential oil. It's quite sharp for me just in water like that. So I prefer to use something like mandarin or sometimes even lime. But the citrus oils are doing what they're doing, and I don't have the water in my mouth for the longest time. I'm swallowing, so it's getting to my tummy really quickly. So it acts the same way as it would in a capsule, all right? You're also going to be supporting your immune system in this way because the metabolites produced by the liver may have a positive effect on the immune system, all right? When you're going to put it under the tongue, you're going to have rapid absorption. Usually when we do that, that tri-ease blend, so the healthy, what should we call that? The healthy respiratory reaction. Now, man, let's just say what it is. When you have hay fever, you're going to put lemon, peppermint, and lavender underneath your tongue. Hold it for 10 seconds, and then you can swallow. The reason we hold it for 10 seconds is because we want that very rapid absorption, all right? The lemon is clarifying the mucus here, and the peppermint is going with the menthol. It's going to open up the airways, and the lavender is anti-inflammatory. And that is why everything opens up and your hay fever sort of subsides when you're using that. So it's a very powerful and very fast-acting antihistamine. All right, so that's rapid absorption. Mood and cognitive enhancement. The rapid entry of lemon oil into the bloodstream means that its uplifting and its mood-enhancing properties can be felt more quickly. Yes, even from the bloodstream, not just inhaling it. So this can be particularly beneficial for improving focus, reducing occasional stress, and even elevating the mood. And then, of course, it's very high in antioxidant support. Without the alteration by the liver enzymes, the antioxidants present in the lemon oil itself. So before it gets to the liver and produces additional glutathione, which is an antioxidant, it's got its own antioxidants, right? And this can have their effects more directly throughout the body systemically. This can help neutralize free radicals, reducing oxidative stress, and support overall health. Oh, the big one, the big old Frank, our king of all oils. Now, this is one of those oils we want to use always, every single day. We want to inhale it. We want to apply it topically to our skin for health. And we also want to be using it internally because of all the systems that it supports inside the body. This is quite an intricate oil with very complex chemistry, right? There is mono and sesquiterpenes, and in fact, it contains over 65 distinct chemical compounds in various quantities, right? And because frankincense has such a robust chemistry, we get very broad efficacy or effect in our body. And here we want the initial compounds, but we definitely also want the recirculated through the liver for the second time, secondary metabolites. So this is one to use under your tongue, but also in a capsule, okay? I think the biggest difference between frankincense and all the other essential oils is where most oils have very specific targets on the cell membranes, which is on the outside of the cells. Frankincense has targets within the cells and may have an interaction to support correct expression and replication of DNA. You all know what I'm saying between the lines there, right? We do not want our DNA to get as many mutations and start making cells uncontrollably for no apparent reason, all right? So when things go wrong. And definitely frankincense can support neurological, emotional health because it can cross the blood-brain barrier, and then, of course, has the systemic effect in supporting all of those body systems you see on the screen. Some of the channels and the targets are on the right-hand side there, again, not inflammatory to you, but I remember from my immunology days when I was still doing HIV vaccine research, NF-kappa beta was one of those that came up, especially in HIV patients, and this is one of the things that we very seriously looked at to get back into a healthy inflammatory response. And frankincense actually has an effect on that pathway, for example, amongst many other places. So this is definitely the reason they say it's the king of all oils. We want to use it aromatically. We want to put it on our skin. We want to use it under the tongue, and we want to take it in a capsule as well. So on the screen now, what you see is 6 of our top 10 in our home essentials and our family essentials kit. We've touched on lemon. We've talked about peppermint. I briefly mentioned something about lavender, and I've talked about frankincense. But if you now have to look at some of the properties that I've put on the screen now, lavender being very calming, right, to the emotions and the gut. Which one is the emotions and the airways? Under the tongue. And the gut, taking it in a capsule or in a glass of water. It tastes like horrible. So chug it down quickly, rather put it in a capsule maybe. All right. And remember, there's even for the mood, there's a lot of research now. I know Dr. Hill and Dr. Oscar Thorpe and what's his name? Dr. Riggs has talked about lavender in a capsule several times now at many of the US conventions, where 2 drops 3 or 4 times a day, because of the half-life of the oil, is very supportive in decreasing those occasional frantic feelings that people have, okay? When we look at tea tree, it's good for gum health and also gastric emptying. So what is going to be the one for gum health? That is going to be oil pulling with tea tree in it, all right? Or putting it under the tongue. And the gastric emptying, putting it in a capsule, all right? Oregano is a hot oil. You're only going to be putting this one in a capsule. I do know some mad nutters that put oregano just like that in water and drink it for respiratory health. I've also seen some nasty accidents of burns on lips. Please don't do that. All right, just put the oregano in a capsule. All right, it improves the intestinal morphology and expression of tight junction proteins. This is also an oil that I use very frequently for my clients because I am a specialist in leaky gut. All right, and those tight junctions is definitely something that we're after. So here on the screen now, you have some of our blends that are really good for wellness and digestion. On the left, Zengest, my miracle worker, Peppermint, coriander, ginger, caraway, cardamom, fennel, and anise. These support very healthy digestion, soothe occasional stomach upset, and it helps reduce gas and occasional indigestion. So this is one you can use in a capsule. You can also put it underneath your tongue for very fast relief. And of course, you can apply it at on your tummy at the same time. Okay. Very, very fast acting, very good oil. Zendocrine is our detoxification blend, and this is going to be supporting all of your organs. So yes, this will support your liver. But if you have a very serious liver condition, even the Zendocrine is going to be very harsh on your system. So maybe try only 1 drop, no more than that, okay? Because there are components in there that is going to support the liver, but definitely the liver still has to process it, all right? So tangerine, rosemary, geranium, juniper berry, and cilantro. That's what we'll find in the Zendocrine blend. Very good support for kidney, bladder, liver cleansing, and supports elimination and overindulgence of toxins. Alcohol, for example. DDR prime, this is our cellular complex. Damaged DNA repair is what the DDR stands for. Frankincense, that's why it's the first ingredient. Remember, the first ingredient on a label is the one that is in that particular product at the highest concentration, always with everything. All right. So when you eat something that says sucrose as the first ingredient, what are you eating? Just sugar. All right. Here, mostly frankincense. Wild orange, Litsea, thyme, clove, summer savory, summer savory. There's the better name, summer savory, Naioli, lemongrass. All of these are very supportive for cellular health, and it supports the immune system with fungal overgrowth, detox pathways, healthy inflammatory levels, and also very good support in people with autoimmune conditions in general. Then On Guard, immunity blend. This one is very supportive of the immune system. So it's good to be using it internally because remember, 70 to 80% of our immune system is housed in the area of our digestive tract because there's only one thin layer that is separating what's outside from inside. And our microbes, microbiome, my favorite topic, they are the ones that send the warning signals. And if the On Guard is being used internally, you can support the immune system right there. It's very high in citrus. Wild orange is the first ingredient, which is good for the mucus layer. And of course, the antioxidants. And then clove bud, which is one of the highest antioxidant oils we have. Cinnamon leaf, cinnamon bark, eucalyptus, and rosemary. Protects against environmental and seasonal threats when ingested. So how much? 1 to 2 drops. All you need. All right. Metapower, metabolic blend. So this is our oil that we use for stabilizing our blood sugar and for inhibiting fat deposition. All right. So could very well support you in reducing some of the size of your fat cells. So this supports the organs, inhibition of fat deposition, as I said, and healthy blood sugar, and may reduce hunger cravings as well. All right. Okay. The next one is the one on my left, leaky gut, obviously my favorite topic. There's so many oils that can be supportive, and you need to work with someone who has experience in this because they can help you choose the best oil for your particular situation, all right? One that is more frequently used is lemongrass, DigestZen or ZenGest, depending on which country you are, and frankincense, okay? For food intolerances on the right, of course, you can use our Terrazyme. This is not an allergy. Just be aware that if you have an allergy, an IgE response to a food, Terrazyme is not going to take your allergy away, all right? This is for the mild to weak intolerances. If you insist to eat cheese, even though it gives you a congestion, then Terrazyme may be very supportive, okay? Because it's going to help you digest those proteins, right? So food intolerance oils, according to the Essential Life, that can be supportive are cardamom, coriander, dill, fennel, ginger, lemongrass, peppermint, DDR prime, of course, ZenGest or DigestZen, and Zendocrine. You can use it all 3 ways. But I do want to also just add, if you want to make a note and write this down, according to Scott Johnson's book, his recipe for food intolerances is to take 2 drops each of lavender, lemongrass, ginger, and chamomile daily. Right, so that's a capsule because you want it to get to the gut and the intestines. Okay, 2 drops each, lavender, lemongrass, ginger, and chamomile. It's not gonna take your food intolerance away. It's just gonna soothe any kind of discomfort that you may be experiencing because you ate something that you should not have. Okay. All right, then let's get to nutrition because that's at the foundation. And I was just so, we've got a road show going on in South Africa at the moment, right? We're celebrating doTERRA South Africa's 5th birthday. I was hosting the Pretoria event 2 weeks ago. On Saturday was Cape Town. This coming Saturday is Bloemfontein. And then the Saturday after that is Durban. And then we have 2 events in Joburg because these events are selling out. There's just so many people that want this experiential event where they get to smell and feel and make stuff and take it home. And I was just again reminded of how supportive Lifelong Vitality can be, especially with people who struggle to take up nutrients. I'm dealing with quite a lot of clients at the moment who, for whatever reason, are really struggling to take up vitamins, minerals. And there's obviously various reasons for that. They could have DNA mutations. There is quite a large portion of people that have that kind of struggle. It could also be that their diet has become so very restrictive because they have so many food intolerances. It could also be that they have a huge dysbiosis in their gut. So they literally don't have the bugs left, the microbes left that are supposed to digest the food to get those nutrients into their bodies. Okay. So also bacterial overgrowth in the wrong areas. All right. That makes you struggle to take up nutrients. So LLV is very supportive here because they've made the ingredients in there very bioavailable. Remember that the minerals, I'm going to give you an example. The minerals that they give for free in the clinics to pregnant ladies in South Africa is literally the rock hard minerals. It's not chelated or anything, okay? And they get nausea from it and everything because it's too hard in the stomach and you just can't take up those minerals. Whereas doTERRA's LLV minerals are chelated, which means your body is able to utilize and take up that mineral. Also, our vitamins are embedded in a glycoprotein matrix. So they actually feed the vitamins to yeast, they kill the yeast, and it's that glycoprotein matrix that you then get. So because your body sees this as food, it takes it up as food and your body uses the vitamins. All right. Very important. If you have a yeast intolerance, what I just said there about the glycoprotein does not mean that you cannot take LLV. Okay. If you need a little bit more explanation about that, please just reach out to me. They also have a tummy tamer blend in here. And this is botanical so that you're able to take this on an empty stomach if need be. If you're very sensitive, like I am and most of my clients, then I still say take a supplement together with food. All right. And the tummy tamer is a blend of peppermint, ginger, caraway. And this, of course, is a different way of using our oils internally because they're adding them with other ingredients and supplements. And here it is the plant with the oils. Okay. Very interesting that I picked up during the US convention that's just happened the other day in September. We all know that VMG1 is coming, or VMG Plus, sorry. So this is going to be an all-in-one drink, which combines basically Microplex and Alpha CRS all in a drink with greens, okay? But what they've added in there, and we will only get VMG Plus maybe in a year or two's time in the European and the South African markets. But what they've added in there is a bioavailability essential oil blend. I don't know how much of each, all right? But they've added ginger, lavender, lemongrass, wild orange, and peppermint in there, which increases the bioavailability of the components in that mix. Okay, so we need to think about this logically and whether you can add some of these oils in a capsule, for example, if you know you're someone that struggles to take up vitamins and minerals and see if it has a desired effect. Okay, it's definitely something you can play with. And then at the right bottom, we have the 4R. So this is where we think not necessarily cleanse, but if we have to support certain areas in our body because there's an overgrowth or that kind of thing, we first remove what is not wanted, all right? And this includes the bugs that we don't want in there, but also inflammatory foods, all right? Then we replace with the good. So this could be replaced with the digestive enzymes if our body is lacking, because after 25, we do decrease in the amount of enzymes we make. Many people struggle with acid production, especially if they've been using beta blockers and acid blockers and all kinds of things for a hernia. Then they really struggle to make enough stomach acid. And that's when they get a lot of infections because your stomach is no longer killing all the bugs like it needs to, right? So Terrazyme is very supportive. And then we're going to re-inoculate. Okay, so I put PB Restore on there because I absolutely love this probiotic. But if you have very serious conditions, so things like SIBO, for example, you may not be able to use such a strong probiotic first. You may need to sort out that SIBO first before you can tolerate a very high dose probiotic. On the screen is GX Assist. This is not a product that we find in South Africa, unfortunately. We do have it in Europe and we do have it in America. And this is enteric coated, and it's meant to support you with removing those bad guys. So it's got oregano, tea tree, and lemon in it in an enteric coated capsule. So it's going to end up in your intestines. In the next slide or two, I'm going to get to a protocol that Scott Johnson suggests when you deal with these issues. Although it's not going to get to the intestines in full force, you're at least going to get some of it as it goes through the digestive process. So it can be very supportive, right? Very important. How much is enough and how much is too much? Okay, so this is a table that was published by doTERRA on their website. You can just go and Google Dr. Hill ideal daily amounts. And this was announced, I can't remember the year of one of the conventions, okay? But there's a whole description here of exactly what this means. So the ideal amount column states how much total essential oil a user should take at a time. And this amount can be repeated every 4 to 6 hours for amounts no greater than the 24-hour maximum amount. And this is still a very, safe table, okay? You will find for some serious conditions that much higher dosages of oils are suggested for a very acute or a short period of time, okay? Internal use refers to taking oils in a capsule or a soft gel form. Oral refers to oils in water or liquid or food or under the tongue, as I said at the beginning of the slides. There is no recommendation for aromatic on this table because it's a very safe way to use oils. Unless there's pets around, remember, always leave the doors open. Don't diffuse tea tree around cats, that kind of thing. We have a pet safety class, especially for that. But as long as there's doors and windows open, pets are very intuitive. They will leave the room, okay? Do not close the door and put like a whole bottle of tea tree in your diffuser. Don't be stupid. But there is no recommendation for aromatic, but it depends also on the size of the room, okay? Now, you can see here the amounts. Do you see that children are included there? 1 to 2 drops, 3 to 12 over a 24-hour max. And this is when we're starting to deal with more severe issues where you can actually use oils for children, but just closely supervised, okay? I would start with 1 to 2, maybe even just 1, right? And I always get asked this question, especially with supplements and that kind of thing. When can they start taking supplements? If your child is able to swallow a capsule, they're generally able to take any of the doTERRA soft gels or that kind of, or the vitamins, just much lower doses. So you wouldn't give them a full dose of LLV. You would give a child like a quarter dose. So 1 of each of the 3-pack, okay? Let's get to some of the per drop recipes. Again, if you're new and you're on here as a guest tonight, this refers very specifically only to doTERRA oils. No other oils on the market can be used this safely in these amounts internally, okay? Gentle detox water, as I mentioned, I start my day. I like to add mandarin or sometimes lime. Wild orange is an antispasmodic, so wild orange in your water is also a really good one. And by the way, very good in supporting a good gut microbiome diversity. So that's why having an essential oil first thing in the morning with your electrolytes and water is a really good idea before you chug down that first cup of coffee, right? 1 to 2 drops is enough, right? Then we talk about emotional cravings. So those that struggle with food on an emotional level, there's some suggestions for you on there, and you're welcome to take a screenshot. When you have abdominal cramps, you can see a very nice recipe there. So you're going to add juniper comes up quite a lot, and you'll also realize that juniper is in Zendocrine for that very reason, all right? Juniper, peppermint, and ginger, 3 drops of each you can ingest that. So that's going to be drinking it with water, not a capsule, every 2 hours until your cramps subside. Of course, you can add wild orange to that as well. And wild orange, because it's an antispasmodic, especially when we start talking about children, applying topically, peppermint and wild orange is very supportive if they have cramps in their tummy. Now we get to the overgrowth. When you have yeasty overgrowth or when you have an overgrowth in the intestinal area for things that shouldn't be there. Okay, so the SIBOs. So yeasty, this is what Dr. Scott Johnson suggests. And by the way, everything on the screen here, you'll see some of them have asterisks and some don't. Those without the asterisks, I haven't put an asterisk there because that is what you would have started with in your home essentials or family essentials kit. So you can just see, oops, I didn't asterisk juniper and ginger at the abdominal cramp. Sorry, that was a new recipe that I put on the slide tonight and I forgot. So juniper and ginger should also have asterisks, okay? But oregano, lavender, and lemon, and then lemongrass is an additional one. 3 drops of each. You see, that's quite a strong capsule. And you're going to drink that 3 times a day. And you're going to drink that for 10 days only. Because of the lemongrass that's in there, it's quite heavy on the liver. You're going to drink that for 10 days, and then you're going to give it a rest for 2 weeks. By that stage, if your yeasty overgrowth is not dealt with, you really should be looking at your diet, because you have to correlate the diet with using the oils at the same time. Okay, so you definitely. Too many sugars or sweet things, even fruit, can cause a yeast overgrowth if you're prone to that. Because even though fruit has got the fiber with there and it is very healthy, do remember that the fruit we have now have been grown to be as juicy and as sweet as possible. Okay, that's not what the fruit looked like 50 years ago. Then if you want to go for the overgrowth, SIBO, 5 drops of peppermint, 5 drops of lemongrass, 5 drops of wild orange. And you can put this in a capsule 1 to 3 times a day. Again, drink it for 10 days, and then you got to rest for 2 weeks, right? And then check in again. And I would advise working with someone who's quite experienced with these situations. And if you're going to be using this high amount of oils internally, then maybe like slow down with some of the other oils you might have already been using internally, and just do this protocol for a while, and then you can go back to your normal routine. Okay, motility helpers. Oh, so many people struggle with constipation. So very first thing that you always need to look at is hydration. Hydration. Almost no one drinks enough water, okay? And you've always got to add electrolytes to that as well, because if you just all of a sudden start drinking 3 or 4 liters of water and there's no electrolytes in there, you're just going to be weeing all the time. There's nothing in your body to hold on to that hydration, right? So there is a calculator on Huberman's website. You all know I really love Andrew Huberman, amazing neuroscientist, really interviews amazing people on his podcast. And he did a podcast specifically about hydration, where he said that you should aim for 237 milliliters, so a cup of water every hour for the first 10 hours of the day. These are averages, right? Then you're going to get to your 2,370 mils. So if you're only drinking 1.5 liters, you already know you're in a deficit, like a serious deficit, right? That's just the first 10 hours. Compound on that, you're actually supposed to drink for your kilogram body weight, okay? And if you're drinking coffee, you've got to, for 1 cup of coffee, you've got to have 2 cups of water because of the diuretic effect. And if you're exercising, you need to add on top of that. And if it's a hot day and if you steam room, you need on top of that, okay? So for me, I weigh 60 kilograms. I drink 3 to 4 cups of coffee a day. I exercise every single day for about an hour. So for me, my body needs 3.5 liters minimum a day, okay? If you want to look up that hydration calculator, you can just Google Huberman hydration calculator. If you want the one that I have created for one of my experiences, that's on like a paper page, a PDF, you're very welcome to send me an email. Just, there's no robot on the other side. It's me, one person, sending the responses manually. So you'll get my email address at the end. Just give me some time and I will send that to you. There's also this fiber conundrum. We all know that fiber is really good. It's the food for our microbes. But if you are chronically constipated and you're now all of a sudden going on this health craze and you're adding fiber to your diet, whether you're doing it in powder format or all of a sudden you're eating very high fibrous foods and you're not upping your hydration, you're going to cause an even more serious problem, because everything's going to bulk up and there's not going to be enough water, and then it's just going to get stuck in your colon. Okay, so do be very conscious when you increase your fiber, because that is important. Do also increase your water intake. Okay. Then if you really need additional help, this is a very supportive capsule. Zengest, cinnamon bark and clove together. So cinnamon bark and clove both have eugenol in there, which support really good motility or movement in your colon area. And of course, cinnamaldehyde in the cinnamon is also really good for all kinds of digestive benefits. So start small, make a capsule in the evening for when you go to bed, 2 drops Zengest, 1 drop cinnamon bark, 1 drop clove. All right. That can be really supportive to have good relief in the morning. But if you want to go a little bit stronger, if you're someone that really struggles and you've had a very stressful day and you know that stress causes everything to clench up, then you can consider taking a double dose. So 4 drops Zengest, 2 drops cinnamon bark, and 2 drops clove. Okay. Scott Johnson also has a recipe. He prefers to make a capsule with 2 drops of juniper, 2 drops ginger, and 2 drops of lemon. So that's 6 drops in total in a capsule, 1 to 3 times a day. So there's another recipe for you if you don't have the ones that I have on the screen in your stash at home. Although the ones on the screen is the one that I use for me and for a lot of my clients. So in summary, internal use of therapeutic or tested grade essential oils like doTERRA's offer some very exclusive benefits for the body over and above what an aromatic or a topical use will accomplish for you. So when you use it under the tongue, you're going to have a very rapid response, which is going to affect your mood, your cognition, nervous, and your immune system. And when you ingest through a capsule or in water or in food, or you put it on your, what do you call it? Palate, the primary chemistry as well as the secondary metabolites have benefits in supporting the digestive system and eliciting a very broad response throughout the whole body. Because why? It's got to go through the digestive system, then it's going to go to the liver, there's going to be secondary metabolites, only then is it going to go to the blood and to all the organs and the cells, and then it's going to come back to the liver and the kidneys when you excrete it. Okay, so that whole process takes a lot longer. Okay. I know we have many guests on tonight. Please remember to go back to the person that invited you to attend if you would like to purchase some of our doTERRA products to supplement all your lifestyle and habits. And if you need a more guided approach, always chat to a person, the person that introduced you to doTERRA. If you would like to book a consultation with me for a very specialized consult, you're welcome to do that via my website, or you can email me. And then, of course, if you want that hydration calculator, there's my email address. Don't abuse it. But you're welcome to email me for the hydration. And you're also welcome to follow me on social media. I've been very quiet on there. I have been very hard at work growing my doTERRA business the last couple of months, but I should start building up on my social medias again as well. So thank you so much. That's the end of our session.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I hope you all got plenty of notes. I saw a lot of you scribbling down as we were going through, which is great. But if you didn't get everything, we will, of course, have the recording up in the normal places tomorrow, wherever you've actually heard about this presentation in the first place. We will get that up at some stage tomorrow. So, of course, I'll let you come back in a second and give you appreciation for Tanya, but we have got to let you know what is coming up next week, of course. And next week, we have the return of the wonderful Shelley Olivia, who's going to be talking about Love Your Pets. Shelley's always got some new stuff on there, as Tanya has tonight. You know, it was absolutely wonderful to hear such, I think, pretty much a brand new presentation this evening. So, like I said, do make sure you join us next week. That is 7 p.m. in the UK. 8 p.m. certainly for the moment anyway in South Africa and also in Central Europe too. So we look forward to seeing you back here next week. So I'm just going to press a couple of buttons here on the back office. I've been off a couple of weeks, if I can remember the right ones to do. So you can unmute yourself and of course give your appreciation for Dr. Tanya Euster.
Thank you so much, Tanya. That was so informative. I've watched a previous one of yours, but this was loads of new information.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thanks, Tanya.
Oh,
Thanks
such a
for me too.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.
I'll see you all back here next week. Good night, everyone.
I'll be there.
Excellent. Good night. Bye.